Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dr. Manha English Channel. I'm Manha, and I'm here with the fantastic Umer. Hi, Umer. How's it going?
Hi, Manha. I'm great. Super excited for today's topic. We're diving into something every English learner needs: daily use English sentences.
Exactly. We're going to explore how mastering these everyday phrases can really boost your fluency and confidence. Whether you're just starting out or aiming for that next level, this episode is packed with tips and examples.
That's right, Manha. We'll break down why these sentences are so important, how to learn them effectively, and give you tons of practical examples you can use right away.
So, let's get started. First off, why are daily use sentences so crucial for English learners?
Well, Manha, think about it. Daily use sentences are the backbone of everyday communication. They're the phrases we use constantly in conversations, whether it's ordering coffee, asking for directions, or just chatting with friends.
Absolutely. They're the building blocks that help you express yourself smoothly and naturally. Instead of translating in your head, you can just pull these ready-made phrases from your memory.
Exactly, and that's key to fluency. It's not just about knowing a lot of words, it's about being able to use them effortlessly in context. Daily use sentences give you that fluency.
So, where do learners typically struggle with these sentences, and what are some common mistakes?
Great question, Manha. One common mistake is literal translation from their native language. What works in one language doesn't always translate directly into English. This can lead to some awkward or unnatural sounding sentences.
Definitely. Grammar can also be a tricky area. Even if learners know the individual words, putting them together correctly in a sentence can be challenging. Things like word order, verb tenses, and prepositions often trip people up.
Another thing I've noticed is that learners sometimes avoid using common phrases because they seem too simple. They think they need to use more complex language to sound impressive, but that's not the case. Native speakers use these simple phrases all the time.
That's such a good point, Umer. Simplicity is key in everyday communication. Using common phrases correctly will make you sound more natural and confident, not less.
Exactly. Now let's dive into some practical tips for learning and mastering daily use sentences. What's your top tip, Manha?
My number one tip is to listen, listen, listen. Immerse yourself in English as much as possible. Watch movies and TV shows, listen to podcasts, and pay attention to how native speakers use these sentences in real conversations.
Immersion is definitely a game changer. And to add to that, I'd say repetition is crucial. Don't just hear a sentence once, repeat it out loud multiple times. Practice saying it with different intonations and in different contexts.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to mimic native speakers. Pay attention to their pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. This will help you sound more natural and fluent.
Another great tip is to keep a language journal. Write down new sentences you learn along with their meanings and examples of how to use them. Review your journal regularly to reinforce your learning.
I love that idea, Umer. And to make it even more effective, try creating flashcards with the English sentence on one side and the translation or a picture on the other. This is a great way to memorize and review sentences quickly.
Spaced repetition is also super helpful. Instead of trying to cram everything at once, review sentences at increasing intervals. For example, review them after 1 day, then after 3 days, then after a week, and so on. This helps move them into your long-term memory.
That's a fantastic technique. And finally, don't be afraid to use these sentences in real conversations. The more you practice speaking, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
Couldn't agree more, Manha. Now let's get into some specific categories of daily use sentences and give our listeners some examples they can start using today. How about we begin with greetings and introductions?
Perfect. Greetings are the foundation of any conversation. So instead of just the basic hello, what are some other ways to greet people?
Well, you can use hi there, good morning, afternoon, evening, or a more casual hey with friends.
And when you're meeting someone for the first time, you can say, nice to meet you, or pleased to meet you.
And if you want to ask how someone is doing, you can say, how are you doing? How's it going? Or what's up in a more informal setting.
And how would you respond to those questions, Umer?
You could say, I'm good, thanks. I'm doing well. Or not bad. And it's always polite to ask in return, like, how about you?
Great examples, Umer. Now let's move on to another essential category, asking for information. This is something we do all the time, whether we're traveling, shopping, or just navigating daily life.
Absolutely. So if you need directions, you might ask, excuse me, could you tell me how to get to, or where is the nearest?
And if you're in a store, you could ask, how much does this cost? Or do you have this in another size, a color?
If you don't understand something, it's perfectly fine to say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, or could you please repeat that?
And if you need clarification, you can ask, what do you mean by? Or could you explain that?
These are all incredibly useful phrases. Another important category is making requests and offers. How do we do that politely, Manha?
Politeness is key. To make a request, we often use could you or can you. For example, could you please pass the salt? Or can you help me with this?
And to offer something, we can say, would you like, or can I get you? Like, would you like a cup of coffee? Or can I get you anything else?
And if you're offering to do something, you might say, I can help you with that. Or let me know if you need anything.
These phrases make interactions so much smoother. Now let's talk about expressing opinions and agreeing or disagreeing. This is crucial for having discussions and sharing your thoughts.
Definitely. To express your opinion, you can say, I think that, in my opinion, or I believe that.
And if you want to agree with someone, you can say, I agree. That's so true. Or exactly.
But what if you disagree politely, Umer?
You could say, I see your point, but, or I'm not sure I agree, or I have a different opinion. It's important to be respectful even when you have a different viewpoint.
Absolutely. And phrases like, to be honest, or personally, can also be useful for softening your tone.
Great tips, Manha. Now let's move on to another essential category, expressing gratitude and apologizing. These phrases are vital for maintaining good relationships.
Yes, they are. To express gratitude, the most common phrase is, thank you, of course, but you can also say, I really appreciate it, or thanks a lot.
And if you want to emphasize your gratitude, you can say, thank you so much, or I'm so grateful.
And how about apologizing, Umer?
The basic phrase is, I'm sorry, but you can also say, I apologize. Excuse me if you bump into someone or need to get their attention.
And if you've made a mistake, you can say, it was my fault, or I didn't mean to.
These phrases show respect and consideration for others. Now let's talk about another important area, making small talk. This is how we start conversations and build rapport with people.
Small talk is essential, especially in social situations. Common topics include the weather. The weather is lovely today, isn't it? Hobbies. Do you have any hobbies? Or current events. Did you see the game last night?
Asking open-ended questions is a great way to keep the conversation going. Questions like, what do you do for a living? Or where are you from? Can lead to interesting discussions.
And it's important to show genuine interest in what the other person is saying. Use phrases like, that's interesting, or tell me more about that.
Active listening is key. Nod, make eye contact, and respond appropriately to show that you're engaged in the conversation.
Excellent points, Omer. Now let's move on to another practical category, ordering food and drinks. This is something you'll likely need to do when traveling or dining out.
Absolutely. When ordering, you can say, I'd like to have, or can I get? For example, I'd like to have a coffee, or can I get a cheeseburger?
And if you want to specify how you want your food prepared, you can say, I'd like my steak rare, choux, medium well done, or can I have that without onions?
If you're ordering drinks, you might say, I'll have a glass of water, or can I get a beer?
And if you have any allergies or dietary restrictions, it's important to say, I'm allergic to, or do you have any vegetarian options?
These phrases will help you navigate restaurant situations with ease. Now, let's talk about another useful category, asking for help.
Knowing how to ask for help is crucial. You can start by saying, excuse me, could you help me? Or, I need some assistance.
And if you have a specific request, you can say, I'm having trouble with, or can you show me how to?
If you're lost, you might say, I'm lost, can you help me find?
And it's always polite to say please and thank you when asking for and receiving help.
Politeness goes a long way. Now let's move on to another important category, making suggestions and recommendations.
This is useful for planning activities with friends or giving advice. To make a suggestion, you can say, why don't we? Or how about? For example, why don't we go to the movies? Or how about trying that new restaurant?
You can also use let's, like let's go for a walk or let's study together.
And to give a recommendation, you can say, I recommend, or you should definitely. For example, I recommend visiting the museum, or you should definitely try the pizza there.
These phrases are great for being proactive and helpful. Now let's talk about another practical category, checking into a hotel.
When checking in, you'll typically say, I have a reservation under the name of, or I'd like to check in.
And you might need to ask, what time is checkout? Or is breakfast included?
If you have any specific requests, you can say, I'd like a room with a view, or do you have any rooms available on a higher floor?
And it's always good to confirm your details, like, can I have my room key, please?
These phrases will make your hotel check-in process smooth and stress-free. Now, let's move on to our final category, dealing with emergencies.
It's important to know what to say in case of an emergency. The most important phrase is help.
And if you need to call for assistance, you can say, call the police, or call an ambulance.
If you're lost, you might say, I'm lost, can you help me?
And if you need to report an accident, you can say, there's been an accident.
It's crucial to stay calm and speak clearly in emergency situations.
Absolutely. So Manha, we've covered a lot of ground today. What are final thoughts for our listeners?
My final thought is to start small and be consistent. Choose a few sentences from each category and focus on mastering them first. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of the learning process. The important thing is to keep practicing and keep improving.
Exactly. And remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process and celebrate your progress along the way.
Well said, Manha. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to our channel, Dr. Manha English Channel, and share it with your friends who are also learning English. And don't forget to leave a comment below with your favorite daily use sentence.
We love hearing from you. Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode. Happy learning!